Thank you, Senator. Senator Neil O'Donnell, you have 8 minutes.
Gormaigad Carly, agus Gormaigad Iris of Eileen. Takium agus Iantium le and Codges Mode and stuff at Harachi, the Kaituriala, a Gaji Shop Oil on Cur, listen Harachi Shin agus couple of cast occurred for Kursi Torres Harakta Komoi Ira. Minister, thanks for being with us today. I agree with the vast bulk of what fellow senators have said thus far. You have painted a very positive picture in terms of the importance of the tourism sector to the economy, but also the positive statistics that exist out there. And obviously, in a time of great uncertainty and a great deal of unknown dynamics as a result of Brexit, it is encouraging to hear those positive statistics. And I think what we need to do, as you have acknowledged in terms of your own contribution, is ensure that we continue with those positives and continue with that benefit to our economy. One of the issues, Minister, I wanted to raise was the issue of the 9% VAT rate for the tourism sector, which includes all hotels, restaurants and pubs, as you know. This is down from 13% and was actually meant to be a temporary measure, but as you acknowledged today is still in place. In our last alternative budget submission, Sinn Féin proposed removing the reduction for hotels and hotels alone, something which we forecast would return somewhere in the region of €175 million back in to the economy. So at the minute, as we have heard previous speakers say, hotels are fuller than they've ever been. And unfortunately, they haven't passed on any price reductions to customers, as much like Senator O'Sullivan, I too have seen the rates in Dublin. There's certainly no sign of any reduction there. So this particular tax break, given all of the statistics and given the scale of them, Minister, I don't think is any longer justifiable. The government's own tax strategy papers has almost pretty much said as much as well. The ESRI have questioned it for a whole sector, not just for hotels. And unfortunately, Minister Ross has refused to comment on it. So maybe, Minister, we'll hear something from yourself in relation to that today. The other issue I wanted to raise, and has been raised previously by yourself and other senators, is the issue of Brexit, the uncertainty of Brexit, its impact on our tourism offer, but in particular, Minister, its impact on Tourism Ireland. Tourism Ireland, as we all know, is an all-Ireland body established under the Good Friday Agreement to promote the island in its entirety overseas. I think Tourism Ireland, and in previous life at Belfast City Council, I worked very, very closely with Tourism Ireland as a member of Visit Belfast and Belfast City Council's Development Committee, and I think they have done a fantastic job in recent years to promote the island across the world. But there are huge uncertainties. There are huge negatives, I think, as a result of Brexit. And I think we're kidding ourselves if we don't accept that Brexit is going to impact on the remit and the ability and the capability of Tourism Ireland to promote the island overseas. And I suppose as a result of Brexit, when you look through the Brexit prism, it really impacts on tourism and highlights the fallacy of Brexit, but also in turn highlights the fallacy and the impractical and unbeneficial nature of partition in itself. Because we do already have two competing systems on such a small island. We do have two competing currencies on such a small island. And here you have the unwanted negative dynamic of Brexit being thrown in to the mix as well. So, Minister, you've alluded to some preparations ongoing within Tourism Ireland to try and offset that. Maybe you could outline some of the practical nature of that, or of those preparations moving forward. So, for example, as Senator Lawless alluded to, not just Tourism Ireland, but other tourism bodies across the island, not least along the border corridors, who probably feel this most acutely, prepare for their tourism offer something like 3 years in advance. So they do their practical work, their practical preparation. They then go out to the markets, whether that's in the Far East, whether that's in Britain, whether that's in North America. And then in the third year, hopefully, that has seen a return. So there's obviously at least a 3-year projected plan for tourism bodies, whether it's Tourism Ireland or the local bodies, the more localised bodies across Ireland. I don't say this to be facetious, Minister, I say this very sincerely, but I would love to know what those preparations are. I mean, I would love to hear some of what they're being able to do, because the greatest certainty in Brexit has been its uncertainty. So we don't know what manifestation the Brexit is going to take. We don't know how the border is going to be impacted. We don't know a whole series of things. So there's a great deal of uncertainty and indeed sympathy on my part and my party's part for our tourism sector moving forward. Another issue, Minister, is that I would hope, because of the nature of Brexit, that you, within your role, remain very, very firm that there is no compromise around the responsibility to promote the island as an entire entity, because I'm sure, and while I actually think the idea proposed by Billy around a European gathering and encouraging an influx of Europeans to come to Ireland is a very, very positive one, almost the reverse of the flight of the Earls, maybe, Billy, to get people from Europe back here at a time. I understand why it might be easier, or just a bit more safe to simply go and promote the Wild Atlantic Way, because of the uncertainty of Brexit. Why would you then be encouraging people to go into a whole uncertainty in the north? Will we really encourage them to go to the Causeway? Will we really encourage them to go to Titanic Belfast? Will we really encourage them to go to the Walls in Derry? Because we just don't know what that's going to be like. So I think that's just a practical point, Minister, I'd like to make to you, that you keep an acute eye on that, and I'm sure you will moving forward. I also think there's an important argument to be made, while appreciating the statistics and the impact that overseas tourism has on the state's economy. What we should also be trying to be doing, I think, in the climate of Brexit, given, as Senator O'Sullivan says, we all agree on the need for some form of special status or another, we all recognise and want to mitigate against the negatives of Brexit, we should try and encourage tourism across the island, back and forward, whether it's weekend breaks or whether it's staycations, as they're called. I mean, you're going to have the biggest community arts festival in Western Europe take place in West Belfast in August. I don't know how many people in Kerry or Galway know about that. But if we can, we should be, it's often said in this chamber by government senators that we should be putting on the green jersey. So let's put on the green jersey. I'll encourage people to go down to the Ring of Kerry. And likewise, I would ask people to encourage people to come up and spend a weekend in the north as well. Because if we are serious about mitigating against Brexit and I suppose trying to offset some of the negatives, let's do that then. Let's think, here's a small way, a small modest way. Certainly let's look at the bigger strategic political moves that we can do, but let's encourage people back and forward, and let's oppose any notion of a barrier or a block on our people and enjoying the best that our country overall has to offer. And that brings me to my last point, Catherine, and I'll finish on this. You've been very indulgent. I'm sure it grates on you, Minister, as much as it does on me, and maybe I'll just touch on this, is that Ireland's ancient east stops in County Louth and doesn't extend to the birthplace and the homelands and the playground of Cuchulainn and Finn McCool and North Antrim. And I wonder if you've had any dialogue with colleagues in the north about extending Ireland's ancient east for the benefit of both sides of the border, for communities along there, because I think everyone acknowledges that we don't want to see boom and bust on either side of the border, whether it's, I suppose, Newry one part of the year, Louth the next. What we want to see is a lifting of all ships and a prosperous period for everyone. So, Shin Mamed, Carla, Gordon Wyatt.